Hi friends, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Joann. I do a little bit of everything on my channel: cleaning, lifestyle, home, and real life. And today we're doing a clean with me that's a little different. Today I'll be cleaning my autistic son's bedroom, and while we clean together, I wanted to share something that's very close to my heart. This year marks 12 years since my son's autism diagnosis, and I hope you'll allow me to share part of our journey in the spirit of advocacy, education, and understanding. Before I start, I want to say this clearly. Everything I'm sharing today comes from my perspective as his mom. I'm not here to speak for my son or to define him. I'm simply sharing what this journey has looked like for me and for our family. I don't usually share my boys' rooms here on YouTube. I like to keep those spaces personal. But since we've cleaned together in this room before, tackling my linen closet and my own closet, today felt like the right time. My hope in sharing our life as an autism family is to give you a small glimpse into our world, the challenges, the growth, and the victories, and to remind you that we are really no different than any other family. We just sometimes have to learn how to do things differently. I have twin boys, and from early on, they developed at very different paces. When they were just over a year old, I started noticing changes that were impossible to ignore. After evaluations and early intervention, Michael received his autism diagnosis in February of 2014. For the sake of time, I want to focus on what the first few years after diagnosis were like. Those early years felt like constant survival. Physically exhausting, emotionally draining, mentally overwhelming. There was very little sleep, a lot of confusion, and most days felt like we were just trying to make it through. We weren't thriving, we were surviving. As I learned more about autism, I can't say that understanding brought comfort right away. Instead, the future felt heavier. The thought of having to problem solve daily, long term, felt overwhelming, and hope didn't come easily. Progress was incredibly slow. Steps were so small that they were almost invisible. Days turned into months, months into years, and sometimes it felt like nothing new or consistent was happening. The only thing that felt consistent was my own frustration as a mom. I couldn't fix it, I couldn't make things easier for him, and I couldn't make it better for his brother, my husband, or even myself. It was never about accepting autism. I've always loved my son exactly as he is. But like many parents, I hoped for easier communication, and that hope is still there. In the early years, there were so many things I couldn't imagine being possible. Potty training was one of them. It just felt overwhelming to even consider. But with the guidance of his therapist and BCBA, we decided to try. There were setbacks, but it's actually something I'm incredibly proud of him for. I also know that this isn't possible for every child on the spectrum, and I want to acknowledge that. Autism looks different for every individual, and success does not follow one path. Even drinking from a cup took time. We went from a bottle to a straw cup to a water bottle and eventually to a regular cup. Baby steps, but all meaningful progress. Sleep was one of our biggest challenges. For over 2 years, I slept in Michael's room because it was the only way he could fall asleep. Eventually, I realized it had become a habit that wasn't helping either of us. It took about a week of consistently redirecting him back to his room. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There were a lot of meltdowns, and it was emotionally exhausting. Today, while there are still occasional rough nights, Michael sleeps in his own bed, in his own room, and on his own. And that is something I don't take for granted. I'd like to share this honestly. I won't pretend that I don't worry about the future, because I do. Autism doesn't come with guarantees, and every family's situation is different. I try not to live too far ahead of myself. I stay grounded in the present because that's where my son is. That's where growth happens, and that's where joy exists. But as a mom, there are thoughts that live quietly in the background, especially knowing there will be a day when I'm no longer here to care for him. Yes, there will be plans in place, and yes, there will be support, but that doesn't stop a mom from wondering. Will he be safe? Will he be well cared for? Will he be happy? Will he feel loved? Those are the questions that sometimes keep me up at night. And even with all of that, I choose hope. Not a hope that ignores reality, but a steady, grounded hope rooted in love, advocacy, and consistency. My greatest hope for my son is simple: that he continues to live a life where he is happy, loved, and safe every day until we meet again. Thank you for allowing me to share this space with you and for cleaning alongside with me today. If you're a parent of a newly diagnosed child and need support, reassurance, or just someone who understands, please feel free to reach out. You are not alone, and I'm always here to help in any way I can.